Hello viewers, welcome to this last session on carboxylic acids. In previous few sessions, we had discussed about the carboxylic acid functional group and different substituted carboxylic acids. Today, we are going to take up unsaturated carboxylic acids and dicarboxylic acids. We will discuss their important method of preparation and properties. And then finally, we will summarize the work that we had done in carboxylic acids. We had discussed earlier that carboxylic acids contain the functional group, which is this COOH group, and this group is attached to some carbon chain. When this R group is either hydrogen or some alkyl group, we call them as aliphatic carboxylic acids, and obviously when this R is some aromatic unit, we call them as aromatic carboxylic acid. But if this carbon chain has got some pi bond in it, means it is unsaturated, or we say that if this R is some alkenyl group, then these are called unsaturated carboxylic acids. Various carboxylic acids which are unsaturated are obtained from oils and fats. These acids are generally of very long chain, 12 to 18 carbon chain, and at many places they have these pi bonds, and then they can have different geometry. They may be a cis or trans fatty acid. Such acids, when double bond is far away from the carboxyl group, they show their independent properties. Means these compounds show the properties of alkenes as well as the properties of carboxylic acids. So we will not discuss these long chain unsaturated carboxylic acids in our discussion today. We shall take up only those carboxylic acid where the pi bond is next to the carboxyl group. These acids are generally called as alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acids, because this is the carboxyl group, this is alpha carbon, this is beta carbon, and this is the simplest example of this type is called acrylic acid. Our IUPAC name for this acid will be propenoic acid, because it is a 3 carbon acid with a pi bond. We do not need to number the double bond, because we know that as per the IUPAC system, the carbon which is as carboxyl group will be given the number 1. So there are only 2 carbon left, number 2 and number 3, and double bond has to be between these 2 carbons. So we cannot write any other structure if I name the compound as propenoic acid. So we write avoiding all the numbers. The next larger acid is a 4 carbon acid in this, which is called crotonic acid. Now in crotonic acid, if the double bond is present between this alpha and beta carbon, now we will have to number the position of this double bond, and this is called but-2-enoic acid. These acids can be prepared by various methods. We will discuss some important methods which are used for their preparation, and one of them is by the oxidation of unsaturated aldehydes or ketones. Now unsaturated aldehyde like this, where double bond is there next to the carbonyl of aldehyde. Suppose I want to oxidize this compound and I use some stronger oxidizing agent like potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate. Now what will happen? This CHO will be oxidized into carboxyl group. Simultaneously oxidation across this double bond will also occur. So we can oxidize such compounds only with mild oxidizing agents, and one of the oxidizing agent that is used is ammonical silver nitrate, also known as Tollens reagent. Tollens reagent oxidizes only the aldehyde group and it does not disturb this double bond. So this croton aldehyde is oxidized into crotonic acid on treatment with ammonical silver nitrate. Suppose we have some ketone, alpha beta unsaturated ketone. Now ketones are oxidized generally with very strong oxidizing agents, but suppose we have such a ketone which is having one methyl group on the other side of carbonyl, then they can be converted into corresponding halo form. That is, methyl part can be converted into the halo form by using the haloform reaction, and the remaining portion is obtained as corresponding carboxylic acid. So for the preparation of this unsaturated carboxylic acid, it becomes a good method provided the ketone that we have on the other side has only methyl group. Such as with NaOCl, it can be oxidized into this unsaturated carboxylic acid, and this carbon will go as chloroform in this case. Then we can get by the dehydration of beta hydroxy acids. We had discussed earlier that beta hydroxy acids on heating, they take up the hydrogen from alpha carbon. This is the beta carbon, this is alpha carbon, and they give alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acids. Similarly, these alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acids can be obtained by dehydrohalogenation of beta halogeno acids. When the halogen is present at the beta carbon and they are treated with sodium hydroxide, a molecule of HX, that is if it is bromine, HBr, if it is chlorine, molecule of HCl, etc. will be lost, and we get these unsaturated carboxylic acids. There is one important reaction known as Knoevenagel reaction that is used for the preparation of unsaturated acids. This involves the condensation of an aldehyde with malonic ester. Malonic ester is also diethyl malonate. This condensation occurs in the presence of a base like pyridine, and this oxygen of the aldehyde and this CH2 of the malonic ester, they eliminate a water molecule, and we get here RCH double bond, and the remaining portion of the malonic ester is there. Then it is hydrolyzed first with alkali and then it is acidified. So, this ester group is converted into corresponding carboxylic acid part. It becomes COOH. But now these two carboxylic acid groups are attached to one carbon and they undergo easy decarboxylation on heating. So, a molecule of carbon dioxide is lost and we get unsaturated carboxylic acid. Again here we will get alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acids, and this is a very versatile method which is generally used for synthesizing such unsaturated acids. Now, if we have only aldehydes, then even direct condensation with malonic acid is feasible and the step can be prevented. Like suppose it is acetaldehyde, it can be condensed with malonic acid directly in presence of pyridine and we can get directly unsaturated, such as acetaldehyde on condensation with malonic acid gives us crotonic acid. Then if we want to use some ketone, means we want to have in the end some substituted unsaturated carboxylic acid, then we use ethyl cyanoacetate. This is ethyl, cyano is substituted over here, so ethyl cyanoacetate. This CH2 is also active methylene group and it condenses with the ketones and water molecule is lost, we get this. This is the acetone part, this is ethyl cyanoacetate part. Now again it is hydrolyzed first with alkali and then acidified. This ester group is hydrolyzed to COOH group and this cyano is also hydrolyzed to COOH group. So we get compound with two carboxyl groups which on heating undergo decarboxylation and we get this unsaturated carboxylic acid. If we start with acetone and treat it with ethyl cyanoacetate, the product that we get is 3-methyl but-2-enoic acid. So, Knoevenagel reaction is very commonly used for the preparation of various alpha beta unsaturated carboxylic acids. Then there is a specific method for the preparation of acrylic acid. It is an industrial method, and actually the industrial preparation of the acrylic acid is required for the preparation of polymers. Some derivatives of acrylic acid as methyl ester etc., they are used in polymer industry, and the specific method involves the treatment of acetylene with carbon monoxide and water under high pressure in presence of nickel as catalyst. We directly get acrylic acid. Then some of their important properties. As I said, they have the double bond and carboxyl groups. The double bond is present next to the carboxyl group, and due to presence of this carboxylic group, the addition across this double bond is opposite to what we get in Markovnikov rule, such as addition of water. Now, Markovnikov rule says that if there is any electrophilic addition, then negative part goes to the carbon with lesser number of hydrogen atoms. So, if it is this alpha beta unsaturated acid and we carry out the addition of water, then negative part is OH minus, that should go to this carbon and not this. But actually in this reaction we get hydroxyl group going to the beta carbon, such as from this propanoic acid we get beta hydroxypropionic acid. Now, it is due to that when the negative part adds, before that a carbocation has to be formed, because this reaction is an electrophilic reaction and first step involves the addition of the positive part as H plus ion, and H plus will go to that carbon which will give a more stable carbocation. Suppose H plus goes here, positive charge comes here. Now, this carbon is attached to an electron withdrawing carboxyl group which gives us a less stable carbocation. Hence, what happens? H plus goes to this carbon and positive charge is developed on this carbon, and this captures negative OH and we get hydroxyl group at the beta carbon. Similarly, in the addition of halogen acids, the same thing occurs. It is also an electrophilic addition reaction and product is anti to the Markovnikov rule and beta halo derivatives are obtained. If addition of HBr is carried out, we will get beta bromo derivative in this. Then oxidation. Now, this is carboxyl group and double bond can be oxidized. Now, we can use oxidizing agents like KMnO4. Suppose it is propanoic acid, it is oxidized to this acid called glyceric acid, where the two carbons each get one hydroxyl after oxidation with KMnO4, and this on further oxidation is converted into oxalic acid. A reduction. Now, again the two functional groups are there which can be reduced. Suppose we want to reduce specifically this double bond, then the reagent is sodium in presence of ethanol. This does not reduce the carboxyl group. If we use the reagents like sodium borohydride or lithium aluminum hydride, they may affect the carboxyl group also. So, specifically double bond can be reduced using sodium ethanol and we get this saturated carboxylic acid. Then reactions due to carboxyl group. The carboxyl group in such compounds show the usual reaction, that is it may react with bases like sodium bicarbonate, sodium carbonate or sodium hydroxide etc. to give the sodium salts. And this reaction, as you know, is used as a test also. That reaction with sodium carbonate or sodium bicarbonate, carboxylic acids, they liberate carbon dioxide. So, this is used as a test also and they form the sodium salt. Then they form esters usually on treatment with alcohol in presence of concentrated sulfuric acid, and they can be converted into the acid chlorides on treatment with PCl5 or thionyl chloride, and we can further convert them into corresponding amides on treatment with ammonia. So, these are the usual reactions of carboxylic functional group that we have studied earlier. So, this was about unsaturated carboxylic acids. Next we take up dicarboxylic acids. Dicarboxylic acids are those compounds which contain two carboxyl group in them. They are also called diacids, and in IUPAC system we name them as dioic acid, and while adding this suffix dioic acid we do not replace the E of the alkane part. You remember that when we were naming carboxylic acids, then E of the alkane part is replaced by oic acid, but in dicarboxylic acids when we replace it by dioic acid, then E is also retained there. For example, these are some dicarboxylic acids. The simplest dicarboxylic acid is this oxalic acid and it is called ethane dioic acid. A 3 carbon dicarboxylic acid is commonly known as malonic acid and its IUPAC name is propane dioic acid. For these carboxylic acids, when the carboxyl group is at the end of the chain, as the different examples we have taken, then we do not number the carboxyl group. But if there is some substituent on here, on any of these carbon in the chain, then we will select the longest chain containing the carboxylic groups, and those groups will be taken as substituent. So, numbering will again be between the carboxylic acid chains. These are aromatic dicarboxylic acids like phthalic acid, which is benzene 1,2-dicarboxylic acid, or terephthalic acid, benzene 1,4-dicarboxylic acid. These are some unsaturated dicarboxylic acids with which we are familiar. We have discussed earlier, malic acid and fumaric acid. We will not involve these dicarboxylic acids in our discussion in our today's session. We will take up simply the aliphatic dicarboxylic acids. Now, let us talk about the methods by which these dicarboxylic acids can be obtained. Very simply, they can be obtained by the oxidation of glycols. Glycols, we know that are the compounds which have 2 hydroxyl group in them. If both the hydroxyl groups are present as primary alcohol, then they can be oxidized very easily into carboxyl group, such as ethane 1,2-diol or 1,2-ethane-diol can be oxidized into oxalic acid on treatment with potassium dichromate or potassium permanganate. Then they can be obtained by the hydrolysis of dicyanides also. That is, suppose in our molecule we have 2 cyano groups, they can be hydrolyzed into carboxyl group, such as ethylene cyanide can be converted into succinic acid. These cyano derivatives can be obtained from corresponding bromo derivatives on treatment with KCN, and ultimately we can again reach to a sequence of reaction where reaction may start from acetylene, such as acetylene, it is partially reduced to ethylene. We can carry out the addition of bromine molecule across ethylene, we get ethylene bromide or 1,2-dibromoethane. This on treatment with KCN, we get ethylene cyanide or dicyanoethane, and then it can be hydrolyzed to give succinic acid. This method has the utility of increasing the chain length also. We are starting from 2 carbon molecule and ultimately we are reaching into a 4 carbon molecule. Then there is important method called Crum, Brown and Walker electrolytic methods. This method is basically the modification of Kolb's electrolysis. Kolb's electrolysis you had studied in the preparation of carboxylic acid, where the sodium or potassium salts of the carboxylic acids are electrolyzed and we get alkanes after decarboxylation during electrolysis. But here this same method is utilized for the preparation of dicarboxylic acids. We start with dicarboxylic acids of smaller size and ultimately we can get dicarboxylic acid of larger size like this. Suppose we have taken 3 carbon dicarboxylic acid, basically malonic acid. We take half ester and on the other side as sodium or potassium salt. So 2 carboxyl group, one is converted into ester, one is converted into sodium or potassium salt. Then we electrolyze it. So when we first pour it into water, it gets ionized and we get the anion part, and obviously positive part is Na plus or K plus. Now when electricity is passed through it, solution of these acids, at anode the anionic part moves. So this anionic part goes to anode, and at anode oxidation occurs. Oxidation involves the loss of electron. So one electron is lost and we get a radical formation here. Now these radicals very quickly they lose a molecule of carbon dioxide and we get this radical. And now these radicals they combine with one more radical of this type and we get this type of structures. A bond is formed between the carbon, which was a free radical of 2 molecules. And now this ester group is ultimately hydrolyzed and we have obtained a 4 carbon acid here. So we started with a malonic acid derivative, we have obtained succinic acid. Similarly, we can start with some other dicarboxylic acid and ultimately we will end up with a dicarboxylic acid of larger size. So this is an important method for the preparation of dicarboxylic acids. Then dicarboxylic acids can also be obtained by the oxidative cleavage of cyclic ketones, but very large number of cyclic ketones are not available. This is not a very universal method, but we can use it for very commonly available cyclic ketones like cyclohexanone. When this is oxidized with nitric acid, the ring breaks on the either side of the carbonyl, maybe on this side or on this side, and both the carbons wherever bond breaks get oxidized into carboxylic group, such as cyclohexanone on oxidation gives us adipic acid. Another important method which is used for the synthesis of dicarboxylic acids is malonic ester synthesis. In this we start with malonic ester, which is also known as diethyl malonate. It is the ester of malonic acid, and this CH2, which is flanked by these two carbonyl groups, is active methylene group. These hydrogens are more acidic, and when they are treated with sodium ethoxide, we easily get the sodium salt of malonic ester. Now, when this malonic ester is treated with some dihaloalkane, such as here it is 1,2-dibromoethane, then what happens? A molecule of malonic ester as its anion substitutes the bromo on this carbon, and another molecule substitutes the bromo on another carbon. So, what happens on these two carbons which are from this alkane part, the two molecules of this malonic ester are introduced. In the next step, we hydrolyze it. These ester groups are hydrolyzed into corresponding carboxylic acids, and which on heating undergo decarboxylation, and we get a larger sized dicarboxylic acid. So, in this we have obtained adipic acid. Actually, one molecule of malonic ester ultimately leads to a 2 carbon like an acetic acid residue, and 2 carbons were from this alkane. So, in all we have obtained 6 carbon adipic acid. This reaction or this method can be used for synthesizing various dicarboxylic acid, provided we have the required dibromoalkane. Then we can use malonic ester in a different way also, that malonic ester on treatment with sodium ethoxide, they give the sodium salt, and this sodium salt of malonic ester on treatment with iodine, the two molecules combine themselves here, which on hydrolysis will give corresponding carboxylic acid, and this on heating will undergo decarboxylation, we get succinic acid. Means in this case what has happened? No carbon from outside, just 2 molecules of malonic ester have combined to give a 4 carbon dicarboxylic acid. So, we can modify this method in different ways. We may introduce the 1 carbon in between, 2 carbon, 3 carbon, and so on. There is another related method for synthesizing dicarboxylic acid, that is called acetoacetic ester synthesis. In this case, we start the reaction with acetoacetic ester, which is also called as ethyl acetoacetate. Here this CH2 group is also the active methylene group, because it is flanked by 2 carbonyl groups on the other side, and this acetoacetic ester on treatment with sodium ethoxide forms the sodium salt here, that is this carbon gets converted into anion, obviously sodium plus will be there. When this molecule is treated again with some dibromo derivative, in this case now just to show an example, we have taken dibromomethane, that is the 2 bromine atoms are attached to the same carbon. The 2 molecules of this anion from acetoacetic ester replace the bromine and they attach to this CH2 group, one here and one here. We can apply similarly malonic ester also on this CH2Br2. They are quite parallel methods. The only thing is that last steps are different. Here we have to carry out hydrolysis, and in this case we carry out acidic hydrolysis. Remember, this acidic hydrolysis does not mean that we are hydrolyzing it in acidic medium. Actually the products are acids. That is why this hydrolysis in acetoacetic ester synthesis is called acidic hydrolysis. Otherwise the reagents are concentrated potassium hydroxide solution here. And in this case what we have obtained? We have obtained a 5 carbon dicarboxylic acid called glutaric acid. Similarly, asteroesteric ester synthesis can also be used in different way, that first its sodium salt is prepared and then it is treated with another compound, that is a bromoester, ethyl bromoacetate. Now, this acting as alkyl halide gets substituted by this anion, and this is the portion from asteroesteric ester, this is the portion from ethyl bromoacetate. They have joined here, and this on acidic hydrolysis will give acid from this portion and we get succinic acid in this case. So, these are the various methods which are used for dicarboxylic acids. Now, we had discussed earlier in carboxylic acids that they are quite acidic. Amongst the different functional group of organic compounds, they are the most acidic, and we have compared their acidities. Dicarboxylic acids, since they have two carboxyl groups, they can ionize in two steps. So, first step, one of the carboxyl group is ionized, we get one anion here, and this dissociation is said as the first dissociation, and corresponding the acidic strength is measured as pKa1, and then these anions can undergo a second dissociation, and then this strength is measured as pKa2. We have discussed all these things, pKa, pH, etc., while discussing the properties of monocarboxylic acids. We will just briefly revising here for dicarboxylic acids. Now, out of these two, the first dissociation for the carboxylic acids will always be as strong acid, and correspondingly second dissociation will be relatively weaker acid, because now one hydrogen has to be lost from a negative anion. So, that loss of this H plus ion now will be slightly difficult. And second, if the gap between the two carboxyl group is more, then the effect on each other is also less, because one carboxyl group acts as an electron withdrawing group towards the other carboxyl group, and it lowers the pKa, means it enhances the acidic strength. The acidic strength in terms of pKa for various dicarboxylic acid are listed here, such as when there is no intervening carbon between the two carboxylic acids like oxalic acid, its first dissociation is 1.2, first pKa1 value, and second pKa is 4.2. I think you remember that lower the pKa value, stronger is the acid. We get malonic acid, first dissociation is 2.8, then 5.7, and as the intervening carbons are increasing, we find that the pKa value is also increasing. For pymalic acid, when N is equal to 5, this is behaving as almost as independent carboxylic acid, because for simple acetic acid also the pKa is 4.7. What we find that second dissociation is definitely difficult, because pKa is increasing, means acidic strength is decreasing. As far as the other properties are concerned, there is one important reaction for dicarboxylic acids, because they show other usual reaction of carboxylic group, is the action of heat. And again, various dicarboxylic acids, depending upon the number of carbon atom in between the two carboxyl groups, they show different behavior. Like simple oxalic acid on heating decomposes to give molecule of formic acid and a carbon dioxide molecule. Malonic acid undergoes very easily decarboxylation again to give acetic acid and carbon dioxide. So, if the intervening carbon between two carboxyl group is 0 and 1, we get decarboxylation. When intervening carbons are 2, like in succinic acid, they form anhydride. They lose a water molecule between the two hydroxyl groups of carboxyl group, such as succinic acid on heating gives succinic anhydride. And similarly, a 5 carbon acid, glutaric acid, it also on heating loses a water molecule to give glutaric anhydride, means we obtain a cyclic 6 membered anhydride in this case. Then the carboxylic acid larger than this, when there are 4 intervening carbon atoms like in adipic acid, they on heating at very high temperature again eliminate a water molecule and we get cyclic ketones. Now, here after the loss of water molecule, a molecule of carbon dioxide is also lost and we get cyclic ketones. Here we get cyclopentanone, and still a 7-membered carboxylic acid, pymalic acid, this on heating gives a 6-membered cyclic ketone, that is cyclohexanone. So, what we find, if number of intervening carbon is 0 and 1, decarboxylation will occur, carbon dioxide is lost. If intervening carbons are 2 or 3, we get anhydrides. If intervening carbons are 4 or 5, we get cyclohexanone. These last two reactions for adipic acid and pymalic acid to give ketones are easily carried out when their calcium salts are strongly heated. That is, first they are treated with calcium hydroxide or calcium carbonate, and then those calcium salts are heated strongly and we get ketones, and they also form a method for the preparation of cyclic ketones. There was another utility for this reaction. When in earlier times some naturally occurring compounds were obtained and they generally had either 5-membered ring structure or a 6-membered ring structure, and we did not have much instrumentation facilities at that time, then this reaction was used for that. That cyclic compound was treated with some oxidizing agent to give a dicarboxylic acid. So, if it was a 5-membered ring, it will give a 5-membered dicarboxylic acid. If it was a 6-membered ring, it would give a 6-membered dicarboxylic acid. Now, what was done further? They were strongly heated, and if it was a 5-membered ring, we will get an anhydride. If it was a 6-membered ring, we will get a cyclic ketone. So, without isolating the intermediate products, this method was used for determining the ring size, that the cyclic compound obtained from some natural source was oxidized into dicarboxylic acid and heated strongly. If the end product is an anhydride, we call that originally compound contained 5-membered ring structure. If the final product was a ketone, it means the original compound contained a 6-membered ring structure. This method was used and it was known as Blank's rule, but we now these days do not depend on such sequence of reactions because we have various other instrumentation methods and sophisticated methods available. But this has a very important historical importance. At that time, it was used for determining the structure of many naturally occurring organic compounds. So, this was about the dicarboxylic acid. Now, let us summarize what we have done in carboxylic acids. In carboxylic acid, we started with the nature of functional group. The carboxyl functional group consists of a carbonyl group and hydroxyl group. Then there are different type of carboxylic acids. We have studied various important methods for the preparation of carboxylic acid and their properties. We discussed their acidic character, and we also discussed that if some substituents are present on the chain, then how do they affect the acidic strength of that particular carboxylic acids. Then we discussed some substituted carboxylic acid like halogenocarboxylic acid and hydroxy acids. We discussed in detail 3 hydroxy acid, malic acid, tartaric acid and citric acid, because they form an important part of our food products. They are generally present in fruits. Then we had discussed today unsaturated and dicarboxylic acids. We had discussed their methods of preparation and some important properties. So, with this we complete this topic on carboxylic acid. In our future session, we shall take up carboxylic acid derivatives. We have discussed briefly that acid chlorides, acid anhydrides, esters and acid amides. These are the 4 functional groups which are obtained from carboxylic acids, and they are known as acid derivatives. So, we will discuss these 4 classes of compounds in detail in our future session. Thank you.